Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by PlayPicks and thelines.com. I'm your host today, Nate Weitzer, flying with Midwest Mo, as Josh Lander is still out on his honeymoon, enjoying that Hawaii sunshine with his newly wedded bride. And we're back on schedule though, here with Mo as my co-host. We're bringing you Game 4, Miami at Boston of the Eastern Conference Finals, which has not disappointed, although it's been very herky-jerky. Both teams going back and forth with blowouts, adjustments, everything you'd want as a basketball nerd as you break down a series. And now we're going into Game 4 with a lot of injury notes to look at. Before we get into it, though, like and subscribe to the page so you don't miss any of these videos. We will continue to bring you through the NBA Finals. Check out all the written content on PlayPicks and thelines.com as we are back in full force with that as well. And if you do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your local area. Such as what we have here, Mo. We got the Celtics minus 6.5 and the total at 207.5. The spread seems a bit, just something you want to steer away from, at least until you know what the situation is with Robert Williams on the Celtics side. Heat have 4 key guys questionable: Butler, Hero, Lowry, and Tucker. Lowry clearly not 100%, but he's been playing at times. Butler hurt his knee during that Game 3 blowout, and it didn't matter because Bam carried them. But if Robert Williams is back, Bam is probably not going to be able to dominate in that same fashion. So that is the biggest news to watch, I think, is Rob. But for the Celtics, it's easy to just kind of fix this. What went wrong is the 23 turnovers, and it wasn't necessarily like Miami doing something to blitz them or change their approach that much. It was just the Celtics throwing out a dud for some reason, not taking care of the ball, disinterested sort of after they just completely dissected Miami in Game 2. Didn't really realize the bounce back that the Heat would have as such a strong team that does come out physical. That officiating crew was letting everybody hammer everybody. I think there were 4 straight key no calls at the beginning of that game. That was just like we're looking back and forth like it was some sort of Three Stooges situation. But so I think you can expect that to change with the new officiating crew coming in here on Monday night. With the Celtics at home, I definitely would not take them to lose this game and fall into a 3-1 hole. But I think you'd have to tease it down just to feel sure about them taking care of Miami. I think the play here is the Celtics scoring over 106, because if you're worried about this under, which is very low, it's because you think Miami is going to continue to throw out these offensive duds on the road, which they did in Philly a couple times, did in Atlanta, especially if Jimmy isn't going to be able to be Superman like he was in some of those games, and they still scored like 79 points with Jimmy getting 40. It's going to be trouble. If Rob Williams is in, I would maybe consider the Heat under. It's just 100 points, though. But I think either way, the Celtics are going to be way more efficient offensively, stop turning the ball over. They're going to carry the momentum from that second half in Game 4, where they had 56 points on 54% shooting and just need to cut down on those turnovers. But I think that the threes are going to start to fall. The Garden will get rocking, and the Celtics will get you over their 106 points.
Yeah, the turnovers were incredible. I mean, you just look back and basically they lost the game because of the turnovers. 25.5% turnover rate. I mean, that's literally first percentile. That's as bad as it gets. I mean, in games with low totals like this, especially, like, you just can't win giving up that many free possessions and runouts because those are just so much more valuable in a low scoring environment, basically. This is a really, really tough game to handicap, honestly, just because of so many injuries across the board. 3 really critical guys banged up for the Celtics. And then, like you said, not only do the Heat have 4 of their top guys hurt, but even Max Strus and Gabe Vincent are listed as questionable. I mean, those guys played 34 and 19 minutes last game, respectively. They've been honestly surprisingly key parts of the rotation, especially Strus. He's playing a ton of minutes, seems to be just like able to play a solid 2-way game. So just the type of wing you need in a playoff environment, you know? And yeah, obviously the biggest one is Jimmy Butler. So how effective can he be? It sounds like he's going to go. And then also Jason Tatum on the other side hurt his shoulder. I guess it's a stinger. It's not like an injury I've seen that much in the NBA. It's like more of a football injury. I think it's like mostly a pain management thing, so guys can often play through it. I just don't know like how effective he's going to be. Didn't look good, obviously. Last game, although he got hurt a little later, I think, but 3 of 14, 10 points, 6 turnovers. Not a good look for him. And just like looking back at the way that game went, though, I do have to say a lot of what the Heat did just like doesn't seem sustainable at all. Bam scored 31 on 15 of 22. PJ scored 17 on 5 of 10. Like at the end of the game, you just saw he was so on fire. He made that ridiculous turnaround heave at the end of the shot clock that kind of iced the game. All this seems like something that has very little chance of repeating. So I guess that's why the line has lengthened from game 3. I think it was 5.5. Now it's up to 6.5. But I do agree with you that like there's some easy fixes here. Just the turnovers. I mean, it just can't be that bad again. First percentile seems incredibly unlikely to repeat. Also, just like don't start Daniel Tice. Like, what are we doing here? Grant Williams ends up playing 39 minutes. I mean, just start your best players. This is the playoffs. Figure it out. And yeah, I just, Daniel Tice, I admire like the guy has kind of a minimal talent level or whatever and plays hard and plays smart, but this isn't the spot for him. Like he needs to be playing as minimal of a role as possible, not starting the game and just going instantly -10 or whatever happened the other game. So I guess I do slightly lean to the Heat and I definitely do lean to the over. Still sitting 207.5. It's a little surprising since every game has gone over so far, despite like I was looking back at each team's shooting performance basically over the course of these 3 games. The only really strong shooting performance came from Boston in game 2. So like other than that, nobody's shooting amazing. And these games are still going over this like pretty low number. So a little surprised to see the number just like not budge at all, really. I mean, half a point, I think, from last game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you totally that the over is the play. If Rob Williams is out, I'm all in for the over, for the combined over here. I think there's a chance if Williams plays that Miami is not able to find much offensive success at all if they're not able to play through Bam like they were, and that's when I would worry about them scoring under 100 and not getting this over the game total. But the Celtics are probably going to do a better job defending Bam anyway. Like you said, if they just match Tice's minutes with the Heat backups, just don't have him on the floor with Bam. That would be helpful. First of all, stop playing so much drop coverage with Grant Williams against Bam because he's getting eaten up in the paint and on the boards, which does help you with the over, though. Miami getting those second chance opportunities. There's just so many adjustment counters that each coach can pull out here to keep their team scoring. I mean, they both have so many tools in the shed with their standard lineups. Even with Miami's guys all listed as questionable, I mean, most of them are going to play. It's just a question of how effective they'll be. But it's different chess pieces that Spoelstra can throw out to find some gaps in the Celtics defense. I don't see them completely shutting them down. But in the second half, Miami has gone cold from the perimeter the last 2 games. That is concerning if you're looking for them to keep scoring. If, like I said, if Butler can't keep scoring, this team just has a certain mentality that I'm not going to say they'll have a let up here, but they play best when they're underdogs. They all season against the spread played really well in those backs against the wall situation. And now that they've gotten home court back, I just don't see them coming out with the same intensity as they did in game 3. I mean, they're certainly not going to be able to surprise the Celtics to that degree. The Celtics will be the more desperate team. So I lean towards Celtics money line for sure, or Celtics on a tease down. And then with the total at 203, I think you can trust Miami to score at least enough to get us over that. Switching the gear, though, to some player props, I do still like Bam. I mean, you got to especially like his props if Williams is out. He's at just 16.5 points after scoring 31. or 25.5 points, rebounds. There's just no good matchup for the Celtics other than Rob Williams for him. I mean, like I said, Grant too small, Al Horford too slow, and if Jimmy's not healthy, Bam's going to get that high usage rate. It spiked from 10% in the first 2 games to 25.5%. For him to just continue doing the big double-double, 20 plus points and 12 plus rebounds is plus 700 at DraftKings. Worth a fire there. But I think, the key there is the scoring. Miami knows they're going to need everything they can get from him against the Celtics team that is just so good on the wing, but has some vulnerabilities down low. And it's such a different matchup than guarding Giannis, right? I mean, Bam has so many changes of gear, different post moves and pivots that Giannis does not have. And the Celtics were all geared, all loaded up to build a wall and do that. But Bam has some pretty damn good touch in the mid-range and is a shooter. So we'll see how they adjust to him, but I still think he gets at least 17 points.
Yeah, I was looking the other side and the other way. So on Boston, Tatum under 27.5, minus 115. I only looked at DraftKings, so it's possible you could even honestly find a better number. Like I didn't line chop this at all. But yeah, I already mentioned the shoulder issue he's having. And then I just thought the way Miami was defending him when I was watching the possessions I saw in game 3, it looked like they were really focused on loading up the strong side and forcing him to be more of a playmaker, which he was struggling at. But he's been really, really good all playoffs, assists per game up to 5.9. And that's like a pretty massive jump since he only had 4.4 during the regular season. So I don't really think he's going to try to force it too hard, even though he kind of has in the past in these spots. And 27.5 is like, I feel like they just plugged in right at his normal line with his normal season and playoff averages. But he's not really like taking any extra shots. And then we have a low total here. I mean, I already said I'm leaning into the over, but you got to trust that the market is generally sharp and knows something. So in a lower scoring game, I think it just seems a bit odd that his total hasn't adjusted down at all, considering, probably the average game total in the NBA was, in the 200 and teens this year. So this is a decent little drop. And I just don't expect him to basically fill it up as much as the market does, I guess.
Yeah, I would throw some caution on that, though, just because of the high minutes and the high usage that he's guaranteed to get. I've seen him throw up some really ugly 30-point games in that Bucks series and take about 29 shots to get there. But that's how the Celtics might play. So that taking the under on his scoring, maybe you want to use that logic, though, and take the over on his assists, which is plus 120 at FanDuel for 6 assists if the Heat continue to try to get the ball out of his hands. The Celtics are going to shoot better from 3 in this game 4, and they were in game 2 able to just dissect, like I said, the Heat defense with pick and rolls with Tatum as the ball handler. So I like the assist there for Tatum, and I would wait and see with the scoring because the way he caught fire at the end of that Bucks series, I wonder if he'll start to figure out how to counter PJ Tucker. I wonder if Jimmy's not going to be healthy enough to guard him the whole game, or we shall see. I just want to continue to ease into this series as Tatum did last time. And that is all the time we have for you in this one. Please like and subscribe to the page. We will be bringing you every single game for the rest of these playoffs, conference finals through the NBA finals. Josh Lander back with us later this week. Every game and some player props sprinkled in, that is. And until we see you next, happy betting.